So what is immigration the right way?
So
Dot com or the
immigration,
business, that is, yeah. Other than this, just the catchphrase, yeah.
so immigration the right way, in a sense, what we did is we assembled a digital platform. We created our own unique software, which primarily puts together lawyers with willing paying clients. Okay. We decided to invest in a platform that would literally replace, in part, the interview process of the client, selecting the lawyer, sitting down with them, getting the paperwork done, and telling them about their case. We simplified it all into a digital platform by which obviously with COVID and some of the impossibilities and restrictions of travel, we wanted to put together a customer in their own home, office, etc., with a competent lawyer wherever they are.
Mhm.
Uh, for example, John, I know you're one of the very best in your field,
Like,
and if there were other willing clients in Europe or Latin America that wanted to capture your services, and if you were obviously part of us, what I ask practitioners to do is give me their best pricing so that I can make it more mainstream for the consumer.
mhm,
And in the midst of doing this, what we wanted to do is make it easier for the client to connect with the lawyer. Right now, what you're doing, as you do it so good, as other lawyers do it good, you tailor it to a geographic location where your office is located. With immigration the right way, you can be anywhere in the US. We know immigration is federal,
mhm.
and you can have clients from Florida or from New York hiring you in LA doing what you do best. And that's obviously the idea. Then we thought about how do we make it easier? So we obviously set up our software so that the client can go in. We give them some free products, some free downloads to make it easier for them to understand. We have
Yeah,
some very basic services. And eventually, what we did, John, is we also, well, what we did is we also made it a little easier for the client to want to actually feel comfortable with our interview. So what we saw is not everybody's going to have a computer or a phone. So we
mhm.
kind of partner with UPS stores so that you can go in there. Let's say if you're more indigent, you don't have access to technology, so that in those stores you can do it. Then we said immigration is expensive. You're a lawyer that's very competent. You charge enough for your fees. There's a bunch of other brother lawyers that are very competent in their field, and not every client that wants immigration can afford it. I know that at times in my firm, we had to be making those weekly calls when we got people on payment plans,
Yeah,
uh, as to, hey, it's your turn and your visa's coming and the rest. So what I did is I went through a friend of mine in Georgia who came up with a very interesting concept in a company called BYD Cash. And what they did is they said, hey, we will pay the lawyer and
mhm,
we will lend money to the immigrant as they walk through the process. And that's a first in kind because there was no such directed program for immigration lending. So when a client comes to us through our platform, if you choose, get automatically referred to BYD Cash. And if John charges $8,500 to get this visa done, and you don't have but a couple of grand, you make a payment special arrangement by where BID pays John, and then the client starts making payment in their own turn. We also, John, thought about those clients that were not too literate in technology, so UPS did not have the money, obviously BYD to solve that. But then there are a bunch of others, as fellow practitioners know, that pay in cash. So
yeah.
how do we resolve someone in Miami hiring you, John, in LA, but they're wanting to pay cash for whatever reason.
Hmm.
So we partnered with MoneyGram nationwide. We're the first corporation that MoneyGram actually approves for this service type of industry, so that you can download a code from our website, go to MoneyGram, take it, and pay for the governmental fees, the services, and the attorney fees in cash if you desired so. And this becomes popular, John, in a bunch of other countries or in certain segments of population, like for
Yeah.
example, where I am in California, close to the Palm Springs area, the Coachella Valley, where a lot of the would-be clients just don't have access to bank accounts for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So in a nutshell, that's it, John. That's our company.
I mean, the partnerships are amazing that you created between MoneyGram, UPS, BYD. I mean, that's amazing to have it all. So you pretty much set it up the front end stuff of the headache that a lot of lawyers don't like to do, which is the business, getting to get marketing and business. They just to practice law. Then it's really like giving the person the work to finish the case. You do a lot of the overhead kind of stuff at the front end.
Absolutely, John. And look, as I say, immigration is force specific, time consuming. Um, there's a couple of products in the marketplace where you pay very inexpensive prices, but it's kind of like do it yourself.
Yeah.
We as practitioners know that the degree of error, not knowing how to properly answer a question, can be so costly. You might make a mistake, have to seek a waiver, your file gets complicated, where obviously our fellow practitioners that are at the top of the game, the margin of error is virtually none. However, immigration is very time consuming. And I see it from a lot of my good friends, like you, like Bill Fong, like Andrea Jacobs, like others, that obviously you got to account for all your hours and time. So the headache of taking away the collection,
Yeah.
the headache of taking away the administration of the amount you have in arrear that clients need to pay and the collection of fees and the rest, we try to really solve that. And then in COVID, the complexity of the interview, John, you are extremely in the cutting edge of technology. I congratulate you for that. You make it easy for your clients to find you online, to get you going with your Zoom meetings. You have everything very digitally there for them. Not everybody is as sophisticated in this field as you've become. And so what we wanted to do is break that barrier and make it easy for that smaller lawyer or starting practitioner or someone that busy that just does not have the time to then schedule and sit people in their office and uh, you know take to them. Now they can do it all digitally. Now I'm not saying our interview is the most complete, but it covers about 80% of the hardcore questions where a practitioner would evaluate a case and say, oh my God, I don't know whether we can help you with this or we might not. So we make it easy. That's what it is.
And that saves a lot of time because alternatively, you'd have to have an intake specialist. You'd have to hire a person to deal with that initial review. And also going back to what you said a minute ago about collecting the fees. I mean, people have one of the biggest complaints I hear about people who have their own offices, especially if they have staff and stuff, is keeping track of the money, people not paying in time, following up. It's kind of like those doctor's offices with billing kind of stuff. And it really takes the joy out of practicing. So if they get the lump sum up front and let someone else deal with the billing, and on the client side, it's such a big important thing because they may not have had the money. They may not have access to credit, a credit card to even borrow the money if they wanted to. So you really provide a service there.